How fast do you think you can turn a cube? I bet it's not as fast as this. Hey guys, it's Brody. So the video that you just saw was posted on Facebook on February 20th by reconstructions, and he's obviously turning incredibly fast one-handed. Thank you to the people who tagged me in the comments of that. I got in touch with Abrish and he not only gave me permission to make this video, but he sent me an entire extra average of 5 to react to and analyze and make a video about. So that's what I'm going to do here. First, let's react to the fast solve that he uploaded, and then we'll react to the average of 5. So first off right here, we have the 826 that he posted on Facebook. Let's take another look at this. Okay, this doesn't look too easy, but just, oh my god, like, it's not like a first time look, but he's just turning so incredibly fast, and he's already done. So there was a PLL skip there, but still, incredible turns per second, incredible. The one interesting thing to me is it seems like, for how fast he was turning, it seemed like the F2L took quite a while. And that's something I'm going to be curious to look at, is whether his efficiency isn't on point or what. Because I feel like if you're turning that fast, you should be really, really fast. Not that he's not fast, but how do I get myself out of this situation? Oh no. Okay, so now we have the 974 average that he sent me. First two solves right here. Okay. Very little inspection time taken. And let's see. A lot of table abuse that I wouldn't exactly use. I mean, it's clearly working for him, but he's table abusing a lot, and other than that, I didn't see anything really out of the ordinary. Very easy cross here. How does he take advantage of that? Okay, I could see what I would do for my first pair, but what is he gonna do? Okay, same start. Okay, and ZBLL. Or not, no ZBLL. That's a ZBLL I would have done, but still, I don't know if I would have been able to solve that fast. Okay, third solve. One thing I have been noticing on those first two is it seems like he is approaching one-handed solves very, very similar to how you would approach 3x3 solves. And I don't know if that's exactly optimal. But let's see. Just, oh my god. Like, yeah, that was the regular two-handed JA perm alg. So he clearly approaches this very much like two-handed solves, and we'll see to what extent he does that once I do the reconstructions and look at everything in slow motion. Solve number 4, here we go. Okay, this one looks pretty easy too. Once again, following the trend of very little inspection time. Oh, and like a ton of cube rotating, but yeah, and the two-handed GC perm, like, that's not that great for one-handed. Another thing I saw in there was where he could have done an F move, he cube rotated to do an R move, and again, that means like his style is very, very simplified to turn this fast, but it's clearly working. T-perm. Oh my god. I mean, he is straight up incredible, but I need to figure out how exactly this works. So in order to do that, I'm going to reconstruct all the solves, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I found. Just like always, I went through all of his solves in slow motion in order to make reconstructions, and I will have all of the reconstructions linked in the description. The things that Abrish does in his solves are pretty shocking, to be honest, and it's really interesting to look at. But we'll get to what he does in his solves in a second. First of all, how fast is he turning, and what does he do to turn so fast? To my surprise, Abrish's TPS is basically on par with Zheying Zhang, who I made an analysis video about last year. Both of them are consistently reaching mid-6 average TPS for their solves. However, when it comes to turning, that's where the similarities between Abrish and Zaying end. To be completely honest, Abrish isn't doing anything out of the ordinary in order to achieve his TPS. Along with sending me the solves, he was nice enough to send me a video that shows how he holds the cube, and not only is he not doing any crazy techniques like Zayang used to turn so fast, the way he holds the cube is actually putting him at a disadvantage. For the sake of comparison, this is how I hold the cube. I put my thumb across this lower left square on the front side, and then I use my left ring finger and left middle finger to hold the cube on the back side. This leaves my index and pinky fingers open to turn, and it leaves the top and right sides free to be turned. Abrish, however, only uses his middle finger to hold the back. In theory, this is less stable, but it does free up his ring finger to do turns whenever he wants, and I thought that might be part of how he turns so fast. But that's not what's happening. Abrish just leaves his ring finger tucked away from the cube the whole time, not really doing anything. So not only does this mean that he's just using his index and pinky fingers in the exact same way that I do, but it also means that he physically can't do double flicks like I can. If he tried to use his middle finger to do a U2 double flick, he'd drop his cube. The fact that Abrish can turn so fast using this style is really impressive, but how does he do it? As far as I can tell, it's because of a combination of 4 different factors. First of all, Abrish clearly has incredible finger strength. Finger strength affects how quickly each layer is physically turned, and that is a very underlooked factor in how fast you can turn one-handed. Here's something that you can do to test this. Feel your forearm on your OH hand just above halfway between your wrist and your elbow, and then feel your other forearm in the exact same spot. If you are fast at one-handed, your OH forearm will be much more firm, because of how much more you use the muscles that control your fingers on that hand. Abrish almost never locks up. Like I've mentioned in other videos, time that you spend not turning still counts towards your average TPS, and lockups are part of that time. Because Abrish basically doesn't pause or lock up, his average TPS is closer to how fast he actually turns than almost any other solver. Abrish uses a ton of table abuse. Table abuse can make up for a lack of stability in your one-handed solves, and it can also make things like cube rotations easier, more consistent, and faster. And for things like his last layer algs, Abrish has strategic table abuse down to a science, which lets him do some pretty unbelievable things during OLL and PLL. And last but not least, Abrish simplifies his moves and solutions more than any other solver I've ever seen. You might remember that Zaying Zhang did this a lot during F2L to make his solves so fast, but Abrish takes this to a whole nother level. In any average of 5, you will solve a total of 20 F2L pairs. For just about any one-handed solver, there will be a slight bias towards solving more pairs on the right than on the left, but for Abrish that bias is extreme. Out of the 20 F2L pairs he solved in this average, only 3 of them were on the left. Out of those 3, one of them was keyhole, so even though the pair was on the left, all of the moves were on the right. And both of the remaining 2 were set up on the right side, with Abrish only doing a Z rotation to insert them on the left. In the average of 5 I did for my video from a few weeks ago, I solved 18 F2L pairs because I built 2 X crosses, and 6 of them were on the left. That means that I solve F2L pairs on the left more than twice as often as Abrish does, and when I do it, I usually do it for the entire pair, not just for the insert. The lengths that Abrish would go to in order to not solve anything on the left were pretty ridiculous. On multiple occasions, he had a free pair set up to solve on the left, but he chose to do a Y2 and then solve it on the right instead. And that's not the only simplification he made. Anytime an algorithm would end with an F prime, like a T perm for example, instead of doing that F prime, he'd cube rotate to do it as an R. He did that kind of thing on many occasions in this average. It all comes back to doing everything he can to maximize the amount of time he's spending turning really fast. And if he can turn really fast only doing R and U moves, obviously he's going to do whatever he can in order to make that happen. More complicated turns and solutions are only worth it if they cut a lot of moves off your move count, and that's simply not the case most of the time. Consistency also plays a major role here. The only time I remember seeing Abrish lock up in this average is when he tried to do an F move during cross on solve 1. This was a smart F move to do because there was an R2 directly after, so cube rotating to make this an R move would add 2 cube rotations, but in general, if doing an F move is the same speed or slower than doing a Y rotation in R, and it's less consistent, obviously you're not going to do it often. And although I call this style simplification, That doesn't mean that Abrish isn't a smart solver or that he isn't efficient. His move counts in this average are pretty reasonable, and he does some smart things in order to make his F2L easier. On multiple occasions, he preserves a free pair during his cross and solves it as his first F2L pair. The ways that he minimized moves on the left for the pairs he did solve on the left were very clever, and in general, there aren't any F2L pairs that he's solving incorrectly. With that being said, there are some things he does that don't make any sense to me. Most notably, why the heck would he do the R2 F2 GC perm? If your whole style is based around maximizing the amount of time you spend doing R and U moves, why would you use an algorithm that has an F2 and multiple other F moves in it? The standard wide move alg only has R and U moves and a Y rotation with a couple of wide U moves in there. That one seems much more up his alley, so I don't get why he doesn't use that one. There are also some times where I think he's a bit too quick to cube rotate. There were a few occasions where he could have solved a pair on the right using only R and U moves from the position he was already in, but he cube rotated anyway. I understand that when you're going as fast as he is, you're going to miss some things sometimes, but when your style benefits this much from having easy cases, you want to take advantage of every easy case you could possibly have. And that brings me to the real downfall of Abrish's style, which is that I don't think it adapts very well to more difficult cases, especially during cross. Abrish has told me that he only solves on white cross, which means that whatever case he gets, he has to take. And when you're only prepared to do scrambles that require R and U moves with some cube rotations in there, then anytime that you require more than that, you're going to struggle. This is the main reason that Zayang has an advantage over Abrish. Even though he also only did white cross, Zayang got much more creative with different perspectives and implementing different moves during his cross solutions. I think that Abrish could benefit a ton from doing this, learning more cross colors, or ideally both. It's also worth noting that this average isn't representative of the times that Abrish usually gets. He told me that he usually averages low 12, which means that this average is an example of his style working as well as it possibly can, not how it usually works. All of the crosses in this average were pretty easy. 3 out of the 5 solves had a free pair or obvious first pair, and the F2L cases were all pretty good as well. Getting lucky in those few ways let Abrish avoid the weaknesses that he knows he has, and the weaknesses of his style in general. Despite all of these weaknesses, Abrish is only a few fixes away from averaging close to this fast all the time. If he can become more adaptable to different moves and strategies during cross, start planning his first pair and inspection on every solve, and get better at looking ahead, he'll get a world-class average the next time he competes. Thank you so much to Abrish for giving me the footage and letting me make this video. If any of you know about any other interesting solvers that you want me to make videos about, please let me know either by leaving a comment or sending me an email. And thank you to all of you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys later and I hope you have a great day. This is Brody, signing out.